There is one man that is responsible for three of the most iconic bass guitar designs of all time. Leo Fender. Of course, he made the P-Bass in 51. In 57, it turned into the P-Bass that we all know and love. Then, of course, came the Jazz Bass. Then he sells Fender to CBS, signs a 10-year do not compete, and comes out with the third most iconic bass of all time, the Music Man StingRay. But then in the late 70s, he starts G&L, Guitars by Leo. And why is this not the fourth most iconic bass of all time? And that's why we're here today, to find out if G&L is Leo Fender's best kept secret or biggest failure.
So Ian and I are actually going to play all of these basses, and we're going to compare the G&Ls to the classics. But first, we had the incredible experience of meeting with Steve Araujo from G&L, and he was coming to us from Leo Fender's lab. Let's check it out.
Steve, you are in a special place right now, right? You've told me about this, but I've never seen it before right now.
I am in Leo Fender's laboratory.
Okay, now hold on. That statement is a sort of like a bomb drop in and of itself, but what does that mean?
It means that I am literally sitting where Leo Fender used to sit and laboratize.
What? Hey, we're Scott's Bass Lessons. Yeah, we talked to you about playing the bass and how to play the bass, but sometimes you want to know about gear, and that's what we're doing right now. We're taking you through a brand and letting you know about the G&L bass. If you want more of this kind of video, like and subscribe. It helps us know what you want.
This is literally the factory that made the original Music Mans.
Wow.
In 1975, 76, they came to him and they wanted instruments designed. So hence the StingRay guitar and bass.
Yes.
The Saber guitar and bass. Up until 79 to 80, they were literally built in this factory. All the Music Men. It's insane. When I get in here, I get chills.
Oh, man.
I just thought it would be a rad treat for...
Oh, it's so cool to see.
I mean...
It's so cool to see.
It's like a museum. I mean,
it's
the
literally
bass museum.
A museum.
Steve, okay, now you started to move the shot and it makes me so happy. So listen, before we start to dive in and talk about these basses, what are the little Leo secrets in there that you can show us? We want to see it.
So this instrument is what's called the Breadboard Instrument.
Oh my God.
No way.
As you see, it had a spot where he could remove and put different pickups.
Yeah.
Which you'll see the pickups back there, those little boxes, those little blocks. Yep. And he would replace them on this, move them, and that's how he would test electronics.
Whoa. Like different placements or just different models, all of it?
All of it. So the rad thing about this is that this is a Fender bridge. These are G&L MFD pickups. And it's a
StingRay neck.
Neck. All made here and all under the umbrella of Leo Fender, or what's called CLF Research.
Yeah.
That means Clarence Leo Fender Research.
Is his first name Clarence?
Clarence Leonidas Fender.
I think you need to revoke my bass nerd card, Steve, because I had no idea. Show us around a little bit in Leo's lounge lab. So, what am I saying? Is it Leo's
laboratory? So literally in there's all kinds of potentiometers like CTS, Stackpole, like from the 60s.
Whoa.
There's that picture. There's a schematic that he probably drew. Wow. This is kind of the bench with all kinds of, hey, there you guys, look, there you guys are.
It's a Zoom call.
And then let's see. Yeah, that's the corner there with some of the breadboard instruments. And I'm glad I brought this so I could swing it around. That's his desk. The other amazing thing is he passed away on, I believe, March 21st of 91. And that calendar has not been touched or changed.
Wow.
Oh
he was in possibly this chair. One of these chairs was working wasn't feeling well, didn't want to leave, but went home and passed away. But he was working up until his last day, which, I mean, talk about the spirit of Leo. I mean, it's
incredible.
Just, wanted to work, wanted to create. And
yep.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. It's gives me chills, and I remind myself every day not to take this for granted. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so cool to see the humble office too. It isn't like a crazy setup of, the fluorescence and just like, this was a guy that was really committed to his craft, committed to the business, committed to making, incredible designs that we all benefit from every single day. Here's a thing that I want everybody to understand. And what I know of you, you are not just some guy that works at G&L. You did the bass hang. You've played, I was telling Sharon, like you've played all of the basses, all of them. Yeah. Like I used to watch your content. I mean, ages ago, you were doing stuff on YouTube before so many of us were doing anything on YouTube. So you're an OG and you are knowledgeable and you're a beast of a bass player. And so I wanted to give that context to say like, you know what you're talking about. And then to ask you what drew you. You've played it all. You've played all the basses. So why G&L?
We are one of those companies. Like if you take PRS, you take Gibson, Fender, the big guys, right? And you split amongst guitar sales and bass sales. Usually it's 70% guitar, 30 bass, or even higher. Could be 75% guitar, 25% bass. We are at about a 60% guitar and 40% bass. For me, that's fantastic because I'm a bass nerd, And just, I don't know, man, why G&L? It's because it's Leo Fender.
Sure.
It's Leo.
Right. And in your eyes, like, so coming to G&L, what do you feel like sets G&L apart from the previous two, from Music Man, from Fender? What is it?
It's literally the culmination of Leo's vision. Take electronics, for instance, take a regular Alnico pickup, right? That's a split P, Alnico. The bars, these are the magnets. Mm-hmm. And then he did the MFD pickups. So I'll find some, but the MFD pickups.
It's like this, yes?
Yes, like that. So the bobbins are not magnets. The magnet is a huge bar that's underneath. And it has more output, has more magnetic field, it covers more magnetic field. So I think that, he just rolled into one company all of these attributes, from the Alnico pickups that he was using back in the 50s and 60s to literally what Sharon has. You have the MFDs, and so do you, Ian, in that space. So no pun intended, but we cover so many bases.
Right.
Right? From traditional P to the MFDs, and you guys have been playing them, they are very different than Alnico.
They really are. There's like Sharon and I have been talking about this. There's like a mid-range, like push to the sound.
We did that at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. We were in sync, dude. Yes. It's like a strong flavor.
Interesting thing on the guitar is that he came up with the PTB system, passive treble and bass. And Sharon's bass has that. So it's a bass and treble cut only. So those last few knobs, and it's cut only.
Only. Oh, we were curious about that, actually. Yeah. Let's dive in and talk about these controls, because this is something, I know, I've played a bunch of different electronic systems, and these have always been a little bit perplexing to me. And I'm sure you get this. I'm sure players are like, God, what are all the switches and knobs? So take us through it and explain it to us as if we were 5-year-olds, Steve Araujo.
Or just my knowledge on bass.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and I'm working on having little plastic inserts that we can put on the basses so that we know what it is. So I'm working on that.
That's a good idea. I'm going to pull this one up as well here. So same package here.
Yeah. So what it's called is the tritone preamp system. So let's talk knobs. So the knob closest to the neck pickup is your master volume.
Yep.
Master volume. The next knob is treble, cut only. Right. And then the next one is bass, cut only. So I always start all the way up and then I adjust. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's what's called the passive treble and bass system, the PTB system.
Got it.
So, yeah. And then if we go to switches, the switch closest to the neck pickup is your pickup selector.
Yep.
Right.
So all the way forward is neck, center, both pickups, bridge.
Bridge. Yeah. Yep. The next switch, this is basically either series humbucker or parallel humbucker. So forward towards the neck is probably basically the louder setting is going to be series.
Yep. So that's if I'm playing, toward the neck puts both of these pickups into one another in series.
Yes, into series. And then back is parallel. Right. Now, there is a version, there's a middle setting on some US ones, which I'm trying to change, which we will, which gives you single coil mode. So it'll give you the 2 outside coils. So any players, anytime I'm doing an artist build, I just go get the single coil mode. So you've got 3. You've got the series humbucker, parallel humbucker, and single coil.
Oh, cool. Yeah, got it.
So the last switch on both, so show the last little switch closest to the bridge.
Here.
That is your preamp control. So all the way back towards the bout of the body is going to be preamp off.
Oh, okay.
The next setting is preamp on. And then the final setting is preamp on with the treble boost.
Right.
And what this preamp, it's very different than a Bartolini, than EMG. What Leo did is he wanted to, back in the day when you had cables and they were longer, you'd lose signal.
Yeah.
That is supposed to mitigate that.
Okay.
So it gives you a boost in signal, little bit boost in some tonal characteristics, but that's what it mitigated. It mitigated that issue with long cables and signal drop.
I see. Yeah. And I love doing this with this just to hear the, if I tap a note, right? And I'm starting with preamp off.
Yep.
Then turning preamp on. You hear it jump. Then hearing preamp with treble boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Wow.
And you really hear it, right?
Yeah.
And I think all the switches are like that too. Like you can really hear that with the pickups. So neck.
Yeah.
Middle. Bridge. Right? Yeah. Like you really hear the difference of that. And if we go through too and do, so this is parallel and here's series.
Yeah.
Right?
Scoop, kind of scoopy and then forward mid.
Mid hump. Exactly. Yeah. And that makes so much sense. The thing that always confused me, but that now makes sense, is that when the preamp is off, you still have these controls still work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're a passive system.
They're passive. Yep.
Got it. Yeah.
And passive sounds great. It sounds fantastic. And totally. I have a lot of artists that, they run them in different ways. Some artists swear by passive, some artists swear by active, whatever, so it's not a very coloring preamp.
Yes.
It just takes the signal, boosts it up a little bit. Right. And again, to mitigate the signal loss issues that used to happen back in the day.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve. Thanks so much. And thanks for sending us these gorgeous instruments to check out too, man. Very cool. Thank you so much, Steve. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Bye. See you soon. Right. Thank you.
I learned a lot talking to Steve, actually. There's some things about the controls that I learned, things about the company.
This is like a Star Wars, control board. And now I know what it does.
Yeah, so thanks to Steve for doing that. That was super cool. And Steve sent us these to check out, but this video is not sponsored by G&L or any such thing. It's sponsored by who it's typically sponsored by. That's right, SBL, free 14-day trial. Go and check it out immediately. So, Shaz, before we hear these, do you know this bass was just sort of like a one-off prototype thing they made because it's an L2000. I think they made it in the US custom shop, but it has an F-hole. So it's like semi-hollow.
Of course you have it.
Listen to that tone.
Of course you have the one-off. That just makes so much sense.
Well, it's cool. I mean, they've done ASATs. That's like their Tele style bass with these, but I don't think it's ever existed on this. But I thought we should play this one and then your L2500 You can compare that to the bass you have there. But I thought this is sort of the flagship like pickup design. These have the same pickups. Yours is 5, mine is 4, and the same electronics. And I thought that'd be pretty cool to compare through the classics. You into it?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So here's the thing. These basses have a ton of controls, and I'm not going to take you through every setting and then compare it to all the settings on the other basses. I'm going to take the volume knob up top all the way up, right? The bass and treble, since they're cut only, which I just found out, I'm going to leave those all the way up. We're going to leave the pickups in the middle, okay? And then I'm going to leave them in parallel, so not series, and I'm going to leave the preamp on, but not boosted. We're going to take a bass line that we know. We're going to take Earth, Wind & Fire September, or at least the way I play it. What do you hear? Like when you hear that first, Sharon, what does it sound like to you? Or what's the characteristic of this bass?
We've talked about this, you and I, on the back end of it. It's very mid-rangey. We
Yes.
also talked to Steve about it. This is like, you either like it or you hate it, I feel like. And there's a lot that you can do with it. And I'll show it with this one as well.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the basses, all of the G&L basses that we've talked about have this quality. Whether
Yes.
you go from low price range to high price range, they all have that like mid-cut.
Oh, like a bark.
Yes.
That's both pickups. Here's the neck. Here's bridge. But the bark kind of remains. You know, like no matter where you are, it's kind of barky. Okay, now let's hit that 51P bass. So here is a Fender P bass 1951. This is from the custom shop. This isn't a real vintage one, but it has old flats. So obviously that's going to change the vibe.
Honestly, there was actually more mids there than I expected.
Oh, interesting.
The flats made a huge difference.
Okay, and then here is the more modern P bass, came out in 57. This one has rounds on it. That's that gonk, right? Mid-range in a different place, Sharon?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Like gruntier, right?
Yeah. You know what? It's kind of weird, but it does sound like related. It's like
It does.
your cousin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's almost like they're from the same dad.
So here is, right, jazz bass, all controls up. So 78 Antigua jazz bass, best Fender color of all time, Shaz. No one can tell me any different.
I don't hate it. I don't know if it's best.
This has medium age rounds on it.
It's like,
And last but certainly not least, this is a StingRay. Now, this is a reissue, like a 76 Nitro reissue from Music Man, Ernie Ball Music Man. Let's hear the riff. Totally different voice on this one, I feel like. Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I want to hear yours before I tell you my thoughts.
Fender has cheaper versions. StingRay Music Man has cheaper versions.
Right.
So does G&L.
Yes.
And now, the price range isn't crazy on G&L to begin with. But they do have a budget version. This is the 5-string, so it's a little bit more expensive. It's more in the $800 range. But you know what? Sounds pretty damn good.
It's the same electronics, right, as the
It
US
is.
stuff.
It is exactly the same electronics. It was built, I believe, in Indonesia. but they do go through QC in LA, which is
Steve told us that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's cool. Barky.
Barky.
It's like a junkyard dog.
Absolutely. But you know what? There's less of a difference between this and that than I expected.
Oh, yeah, between these two. So
yeah, absolutely.
I know what you mean. Yeah, they both have that similar kind of like And are you using both pickups on full? Like first switch in the middle?
I'm using both pickups. Yep, I have both pickups on. I'm using
Where's your second switch?
It's going towards me.
Ah, that's why it's so barky.
Oh,
go the other
switching
way.
It over. 1, 2.
That sounds nice to me.
Yeah, it's very...
Now let me see if mine sounds similar. Right?
That actually sounded very similar.
Yeah, it did, right? And you had the treble boost on and you had it in series, which is a louder.
Yeah.
You had it like this, which is like like really aggressive versus which is kind of, I think personally, more a pleasant sound.
It's the more generic sound. Yeah, it's like the thing that you could use over that. No, sorry. It's the thing that you're most used to.
You don't mean generic in a bad way, right?
No,
You mean,
like
useful.
If someone's sending me a track and they're like, just give me like that regular, like, that bass sound, I am not going to send them.
Right. Too punchy, too mid-rangey.
Too Dua Lipa.
Yeah, right. But interesting that you say that, right? Because maybe sometimes that mid-range character is
what you want.
Yeah, or like what's going to stick out in a track, or what's going to stick out on stage, or feel kind of like carve its own space on stage. Yeah. I find that I get really into this zone of like what sounds good on its own. I've always struggled with that, like scooped sounds. I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. But then maybe it gets lost in a mix. I'm always trying to battle that in my own gear buying and my own tastes.
Right.
And G&Ls have always felt kind of like aggressively mid-rangey to me, but maybe that's a good thing.
That's what it needs, right? Now, my budget friends, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to do a comparison between Fender's budget thing, which is the Squier.
Okay, so I love YouTube. You probably love YouTube, but let's be honest. It's not the best platform for in-depth teaching. Enter the SBL Academy. At SBL, we break down the bass with a curriculum-driven approach that spans from complete beginner level to super advanced. We also cover all kinds of genres, skills, and techniques, all brought to you by world-class bass instructors. And best of all, you can get started today for free at trysbl.com. Yeah, that bass sounds good. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good Squier.
It is, yeah. I mean, okay.
Classic. Again, it's got the warm P bass.
Yes.
Thing.
It does. It has the warm P bass thing.
It does not cut, though. This bass does not cut in a mix.
I mean, we're trying to answer this question. Is the G&L totally the best kept secret? Is it the sleeper? Or is it a miss or a failure? And before we answer that too, I would be remiss not to say that this bass that they sent over as well is sort of like their version of a StingRay, except it's totally passive. You want to just hear the riff on this one too, Sharon?
Hell yeah. Ooh.
Different vibe, right?
What are the electronics on that one? Same thing?
Okay, so controls on this are totally passive. It has a 3-way toggle that I believe is splitting coils and then giving you parallel and series within the pickup. I think that's right. Volume and tone, right? So if I play it, I'll show you with the switch in all three positions here. Again. Ooh. That's in the middle, and here's back. The crazy thing is this does not sound at all like a StingRay to me, but it kind of, like, it's totally its own thing. It's that like G&L mid-range punch without the active electronics in a more simple package, and this one was made in the US. Just had to throw this one in there. Pros and cons, Sharon. So first of all, a pro is it's designed by Leo Fender. Like, I mean, yeah, right? Sure. That's cool. And I mean, that name and that legacy and that pedigree really means something in the bass community. It was his last contribution to the world of the bass, right? So that's cool. I mean, like, he worked until his dying day on G&L instruments. That should be, not for nothing, as they say. Also, I think that they're really like rugged and utilitarian. There's something about the construction, like just grabbing this one again, with the 6-bolt neck, like they feel tough. And even though this one has a semi-hollow chamber and it's kind of heavy, but not in a boat anchor way, I would say, and just like it feels solid. There's no creaking.
Durable.
Yes,
yeah, it's like
durable.
If I'm gonna hit something with this, I'd be more worried about the thing as opposed to the bass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is like a solid feeling. I don't feel like I need to baby it. The neck profile is kind of chunky, which I like personally. The necks feel super solid. So it's a really like solid piece of machinery. Like the bridge is super chunky.
I love this bridge.
Yeah, the bridge is beautiful, right? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, on the 5 too, it's just a beast. It's massive.
Massive, yeah.
So the pickups, right? I would call this a pro. These are the MFDs, the magnetic field design, where, you can adjust the pole pieces if you want different outputs out of, like if your G string feels a little weak, you can adjust that. And they just have a big, wide sound. They're also loud too.
On to that.
Yeah.
The electronics, whether you're getting an American bass or the non-American basses, the electronics remain American. So they built those the same. They're exactly the same, which to me is a huge pro just for budget case.
Totally. Yes. You plug this thing in, you turn it up. It's going to give you a big, strong signal, but that's going to come into my con list too here in a minute. We mentioned the electronics. We mentioned the bridge. I've told you that I love that ASAT design. I'm sure at some point we've put that on the screen, but that's the one that looks like a Telecaster. And then I would say too, moving forward, seeing what their custom shop's doing in terms of colors and aging and doing different woods and just experimenting. I think that is a real pro for the company as well.
I mean, Price is a pro. They're not.
Oh, yeah.
They are not
totally
bank breaking, even in the more expensive realm.
Yes.
Like
agreed.
How much does an ASAT go for? Or did an ASAT go for?
There are on the used market, I think you can get an ASAT for like under $1,500, which is crazy.
And the Kiloton, which is the white one that you have, I believe that's like somewhere in the 25 to 3 range.
New.
New.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
I think
which for an American-made bass, right? That's all, handmade, and I mean, yes, CNC, but almost everything is. That's actually an incredibly low price. How about the juicy stuff, Shaz? Cons.
It's heavy.
Both of mine are heavy as well.
This was surprisingly, and I mean, I'm lifting it with one hand right now, so I'm not making a good case for myself. But you know what? I have a Warwick thumb, so my right arm is like in good shape. Yes. Hence why this is possible. But it's heavier than you would expect. I haven't weighed it. Probably say like 9, 10 pounds.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I bet they're 9.5.
Yeah.
Or maybe just over 9. I don't think they're, at least mine aren't close to 10. But yeah, they're a little heavier than you want them to be.
Agreed.
I would agree with you.
Which I do think goes into it feeling more solid. Like, this is why I feel comfortable hitting it into something. Not that I'm actively hitting those things, but
Right.
If you don't know the controls, this is a lot of controls.
Yes.
It's a lot to tackle. It's a lot to figure out what the hell is going on. Once you know them, it's a pro because now you have all this control. But I feel like up until you actually know what it's doing, it's kind of like it's going to take you
it's
a long
convoluted.
time to
Yes.
get.
And I didn't know that these were boost only. I mean, for me, I wish that these two knobs didn't exist. I wish that like the bass and treble knobs just were up.
Right.
Like, and that was just the sound of it. Because I'm never going to turn down that bass control because it gets so thin sounding.
Oh, I wasn't even fully up. I was.
Oh, Sharon.
Well. Let's go back in and let's see.
Hey, you know what? Still sounds like a G&L, you know? Like it still sounds like that like pokey mid-range thing, which, you know, in a way, now I'm wondering about the pros list. Should we have put the like aggressive mid-range thing to you? That thing that we've sort of uncovered in this, is that a pro or a con?
It so depends on the gig.
It does.
I do think for the day and age in which G&L is now making its big, like, I feel like almost a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good sound. Like I mentioned, Dua Lipa. Like, if you want that, like, bite, G&L has it built in. No matter the price range, the $400 bass up to the $3,000 bass. Like, it's there.
Yep.
So, in a way, it could be a pro. I'm not sure if you're doing a big set that this is your only bass.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you need to have another bass on a gig. At least one other bass that can do more range.
Yeah,
so
maybe like a traditional sound or a traditional passive sound or a traditional like bright scooped active sound. Because this is like a non-traditional active sound. It's an active bass, the battery goes in there, but like it's actually am I wrong? Is it not?
Is it active? I think it's.
Is it passive? Have I been wrong? Does it have a
button.
battery inside?
I mean, do you want to find out?
I do.
Do you want? Look at this. I mean, I came prepared.
So did I.
You're just as heck, man.
Yeah, so did I. Let's see who can do it faster.
I got it off. I just shook my mother's battery.
There is a battery. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought so. I will say for me, the wiring could be way neater. And maybe this was sort of like a tester bass. I think that they like built this as a one-off. So I don't know if they just, yours actually looks very like more tidy somehow than mine.
See,
why is that?
Budget ain't always bad.
Yeah, dang right. Okay, cool. So, all right, this holds true then. This is not what I associate with the active sound. This is a very mid-forward active sound. Because when I think of active basses, I'm thinking like Sadowski and MTD and Stingrays that all have like big bottom and like glass top and have kind of a mid-range character that is ducked. It's the smiley face EQ thing, even Warwick, you know? And so this is a really different flavor of active bass, which, like Sharon said, like you said, depends on your gig if that's a pro or a con, right? But I like you saying in the modern age, you know.
It's not a bad bass to have.
It's like punchy.
Collection.
Yeah, interesting. I have another con for you. I think the downsized body, I think the body shape of this instrument, if I compare it to a Fender, it sort of has a more inset waist and it's so it makes the lower bouts, it makes this look, your word, more voluptuous. And this is like a skinnier point here, right? But these are also offset. So a P bass is not offset in its curves. They're identically in the same place, but a jazz bass is offset in its curvature, right? Like, yeah, see that?
I mean, I guess I knew it. I just never clocked it. Wow.
But the G&L is smaller than both of those things. So depends on who you are. That might be a pro for you. For me, I don't like the sort of like skinnier waist
Can we just, whoever's editing this, can we just get like an arrow pointing at him saying giant man as well as he's saying all of this? Thank you.
I am a giant man. So for me,
that's why it doesn't look tiny with me. I mean, look at that.
It looks huge. That's also a 5 though, which the neck is wider and maybe they do something to the body to accommodate that. That's a gorgeous looking bass. I mean, it really is. Like, it's cool. The blocks and yeah, it's cool for sure. This to me, I don't love the body shape of the sort of traditional L2000. I never have. And the other thing for me too, just again, the headstock, I think I've never loved the G&L headstock. I think like Leo Fender made the most beautiful headstock, and the Music Man headstock I think is cool too. This thing always throws me. And
it's funny that you would say that.
Yeah?
I like it on
that
bass.
Yes.
On that bass.
Yeah.
But wait. Look at this.
But dun dun dun. Oh.
This one is stunted.
It's shorter,
it's
right? It's
shorter, and it looks like something went wrong.
Like it looks like it drank coffee when it was
It's like, this
6
is
years
me,
old.
and that's you.
Right.
But it's kind of weird that I am on this big body. Like,
with a little
headstock. The bass looks smaller.
Because of the headstock. See, it's weird. I don't mind that one. I think this, for some reason, the proportions, this is like a little bit sort of Willy Wonka-y to me or something. It's like, hey, it's got all this stuff going on. But that's just, hey, whatever. It's fine. I just, I'm a vain, shallow individual about things like this. Like, I absolutely will buy and sell things or buy things based on design. And this headstock design has always been a thing that is just, I've just noticed it and I've been like, dang, I'd always wished, man, I wish they'd done a different headstock. But that's just me. That's just me. Last con is there's always been something about these instruments that has remained like dad vibes. Right? Sunburst, there's something about G&L that has never had like a lot of edge to it. I mean, and now this, wait, what?
Literally
what are you talking about?
an edge. It's literally an edge.
I'm not talking
man.
literally. I'm talking about like edginess. Like they feel kind of like, when I've always seen them, other than, ASATs or the things that I've been like, oh, those, I really like those. They've kind of spoken to me, I don't know, something that an older generation might play. And it's funny because I am a dad. I'm a bass dad, right? But like when I see this kind of design with like the F hole in it and the quilt top, right? And I'm kind of like, oh, this is kind of
about this one.
No. When I when I see that, the matte black to me looks cool. The body shape looks a little different. I don't know if it is, but it's showing up different to me on camera. Maybe it isn't. But
I think it's the same.
Maybe it is the same.
Oh, yeah.
But is it a little wider though? Maybe.
I mean, it might be because of the 5-string.
Yeah, but there's just something, and I think they're seeking to correct this.
Yes.
But there's always been something about G&L that's kind of given me like, oh, that's the bass that people that are 10 years older, 15 years older than I am are playing. And I don't want that for them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it always has to be that way or that it even is that way, but that's how I've perceived them in the past. Sure. And guys, we've gotten, Sharon, you can attest to this. We've gotten so many requests to talk about G&L on this channel. Like, so many of you out there who are watching this have clamored for this, right? And the reason that I hadn't really pushed for it is like, I'd never really been drawn to the instruments because I didn't know a lot of people that were playing them. My friends, and then also like celebrity bass players. The two people, like on the wiki, the two people that are most known for playing these instruments, one bass player is Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith. Other than that, I didn't recognize any of the names. Now that could just be on me, right? But then in guitar world as well, just Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. And that's it. Now, that's not it. They have a biggest artist.
Have a whole list
they have an artist
right,
roster. But if you think in your mind, like, what are the bass lines that have been played on G&Ls? What are the huge bass celebrities that have played G&Ls? You're hard pressed to come up with a list that even touches P bass, jazz bass, StingRay, right? And part of the thing for me is I'm attributing that to this thing that I wonder if it's sort of like dad vibes. I want to see fonts revamped. I want to see shapes revamped. I want to see some design features that are updated. I want to see, did you just cringe at the font? I watched you do
logo. I saw the logo and I was like, yeah, the treble clef is a little worse.
The treble clef is as the ampersand. And look, that stuff, to some people, that stuff doesn't matter at all. But I think it matters more than people actually say. Like, I think people think about that stuff. They see this kind of stuff and they go, oh, that's not for me, but they just don't say it. And so I'm saying it for G&L. I think thoughtfulness around some of the like design features, fonts, shapes, I think would help. Colors, which they're already doing in colors.
Yeah, they're definitely, I mean, Steve mentioned they are going in a direction that he's very happy about. He mentioned the coloring stuff. So it's coming. I think it's coming. I will say, I would play that bass.
This one. This isn't giving you dad vibes.
This does not give me dad vibes at all. It gives me a little bit more jazz vibes in terms of like that coloring and the wood. But I'd be okay with that. I would probably use it for very specific gigs. But I would play that bass.
Yeah. And it's an amazing bass. No doubt about it. I mean, it's an incredible instrument. What do you think then? Is the G&L the best kept secret? Or was it a miss? I'm putting it on you.
That now, I feel like, I mean, I knew that that we were gonna ask this question, and now I don't think it's a miss. I also don't think it's a secret in terms of someone has been holding it back.
Right.
I think the G&L deserves more attention.
Yeah. I think so too. I think for me, I have aesthetic stuff that's holding me back from giving it more attention. But I do think it has a voice of its own.
I agree.
That absolutely carves. And it sounds completely different. And all it would take, honestly, would be like 4 or 5 current cool artists that were doing something awesome with the instrument or with a band or with music to make people go, oh. So, maybe they just need to send them to folks for that. Yeah. Sharon, right? Maybe they need to send them to you,
Oh, no, I was thinking about you. I mean.
Oh, well, I mean. Yes.
You're a celebrity bassist.
Oh, come on. They sent them to us to check out, right? But I'm saying like a cool band.
Sure.
With a bass player that everybody loves needs to have these bass guitars. And maybe that's coming.
I still feel like you fit that category.
I'm
having a hard time seeing where the problem is here.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, there's things about them that I struggle with, like aesthetically and even tonally. Like the mid-range thing is a little bit difficult for me, but absolutely. Like if you don't think that I'm thinking like, how do I get an ASAP?
Did you just come up with that?
I did.
That was good.
Came from my brain. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about that because these pickups definitely have a voice. It's not the voice that I want to use all the time. Right. But when you say like Dua Lipa,
very well said.
Like pop music that has to have a bass that's like, right? This is cool for that. I mean,
the G&L, Steve said it, has existed for decades.
Yeah.
It is way older than me.
Yeah.
Which, granted, is quite easy. But
almost as old as I am.
That's hard. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes,
I just think the G&L's time hasn't been yet.
Wow.
And I think it's on the horizon.
Mic drop, Shaz.
Question for you. Do you think everyone should try a G&L at one point?
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. Like if you haven't, if you've, for whatever reason, if you've steered clear, you just haven't had an opportunity, definitely check one out, because if nothing else, it puts all the others in perspective.
Right.
If you like it, if you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It helps you hear like, oh, that's different. It puts a jazz bass in a category. It puts a P bass in a category, puts a StingRay, right? And then the G&L, all 4 Leo creations have very, very specific voices.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. We agree. I dig it.
It really does deserve its own slot. Like, it's not, and then G&L. It's like, it's its own slot.
There we go.
Which is impressive.
So what? It's like one of the designs. It should be on the Mount Rushmore of Leo Fender bass designs.
One day.
What do you guys think? In the comments, let us know. What's your experience with G&L? You all told us to make this video, right? So let us know. Did you dig it? Do you want us to do more with it? Talk to us about your experience with G&L. Talk to us about how much you love them, how much you hate them. We just want to know, should this be a consideration for more players, for more pros, for more hobbyists, for more weekend warriors? Like, where does this bass fit in? We want to know your thoughts on G&L in the comments below.